it was
been
just love fest
a
as you.
while, and I'm so excited to
I know.
talk.
What's
Talk
going
to you.
on, Melanie Curtis?
I am gonna plug in my computer
I
because
love it.
Bill was again sort of loving on the cord. We're good. So talk to me, girl. What's been up?
A lot.
I know that we have a topic to talk about.
And I'm psyched in it. Like it's the all our topics are perfect, right? Because
Totally.
even in the messiness that our brain judges as imperfection, it is all part of this perfect unfolding of life. But this one in particular is perfect because one, this is so your wheelhouse, and you've been so inspiring to me. And one of the epiphanies that I had, we're talking about humor, because humor is awesome.
Yes.
I've realized that at some point in my childhood, I started to block my sense of humor,
Really?
where it wasn't safe for me to allow my because humor is like this authentic like thing. And
Yes.
like Melanie, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm weird. Like
Yeah.
I'm weird. Like I find most things funny.
I find
Like,
a lot funny.
right. And
I've
there
got
have been
people.
times,
What? Mm-hmm.
when I found things funny and it's been really offensive and insensitive that I found something
Sure.
funny because the person on the other side of it did not, because I wasn't laughing at, I do not laugh at anyone.
Correct.
I am
Neither do
laughing
I.
with, I'm laughing. And
Yeah.
sometimes the other person isn't quite ready to laugh yet.
And situationally, you know me well enough to know that one of my core pillars is I believe life is comedy, and there's so much funny about life, and even like comedy is tragedy plus time. So like, you know what I mean? Not to say that we don't process tragedy or grief or pain or whatever. Like, it's not that we instantly need to find humor. Sometimes we can find humor more quickly because we extrapolate forward in our mind to when it will be funnier, and that helps us in the present. And yeah, absolutely, absolutely not everybody will align on the usage of humor, on what they connect to as funny, on all this stuff. So yeah, and for those of you who don't know, I've led a class on comedy as a key skill in happiness, achievement, and growth. Whatever I called it. But yeah, I developed that education for specifically this reason of using it to magnify our ability to do all of those things. So
Yeah.
tell me more, Pam. I'm dying to hear what's
No,
up.
I mean, it's awesome because like, I don't know, I think with all of this stuff, there's these little like micro epiphanies or micro growth areas where like,
Always.
because I feel like it was a couple years ago where I'm and like
Where
it
what?
doesn't matter.
Where you were like, I'm funny?
I crack myself up.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like one, I'm alone because I'm a mom and I'm like running errands, like I'm alone a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'm with the kids, or maybe they're not getting the same sense of humor because it's like something that would be over their head or whatever.
Right.
But like I remember distinctly, like I think it was a couple years ago when I was at Beacon where I was like, I'm really funny. Cause like there had been a period of time where I thought I was just like, no, like I'm just not really that funny of a person. Like I'm just not that funny. Like
That to me,
not that it was like a
the
lack of
word funny
appreciation.
to me is funny. I don't know why. I'm just like, oh
I'm
my
funny
God. I just
looking.
like say the word funny all the time.
I know all of this is so ridiculous. Like, isn't it funny how when you like start to go back and be like, what was I thinking? And then you like say it out loud and you're like, that is so ridiculous that I thought that. But like, I mean, this is layers upon layers of ridiculousness, right? It's
Yeah.
all so funny. But I remember in my like really insecure years, because from like, I don't know, 10 to
Yeah.
like I'm
And to
40 now,
yesterday.
so yeah, 10 to like last week. Like literally, we keep healing these deeper levels of our layers of our insecurities
Yeah.
around things that have happened in our life to teach us the lesson that we were not good enough or not safe, right? And
Right.
we all have more of that in us than we can ever possibly imagine, because most of it is subconscious, where we just don't think that we're good enough, or we don't really think that we're safe. And so we don't really just let our authentic being go. Like just we don't let ourselves really fully show up in the moment because it might be off-putting for certain people. Right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, that perceptibly is disconnection, perceptibly is rejection, perceptibly is conflict, all those things that are perceptibly scary and disconnecting.
Unpleasant.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'd prefer to just play it safe and not have someone shoot me a dirty look or, whatever, like
Yep.
whatever. And so a bunch of years ago, I remember having this epiphany that I'm like, I'm really funny. Like, and then I was like, I went through this phase where I was basically just cracking myself up everywhere I went. Like, I was just like laughing to myself
Yes.
all the time. Like and I'm like, what a wonderful way to be. Like, I remember realizing like, it doesn't matter if no one else finds me funny.
That's
Like, if
right.
literally no one else on the planet finds me funny, if I find myself funny, then I'm just like laughing all the time.
I also describe it as like a delight. There's a delight about life and the breadth of everything around us all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and so for me, that's sort of how I experience it. I mean, it's definitely humor and comedy and like actual laughter and stuff like that, for sure. And there's a delight piece as well. So it's all of it for me. But yeah, and again, I do think it depends on the frame that people carry into life, like being released from the need to have other people think things are funny, or I don't know, feel like it's
socially
not
appropriate.
yeah, like think it's not okay to, like, it's an interesting thing. I actually, every time I find myself really genuinely laughing when I'm by myself, like I've found something, again, I should have prepared with some examples, but I almost am like, yeah, yay. Like I almost am happy about that because I see it and I sort of like give myself a little bit of support and championing, like,
Celebration.
hey, great job, you know, for like
It
enjoying
all goes hand
life
in
and
hand. Yeah.
yeah, and being light and seeing the humor all around you so that you can enjoy your life more, simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, like, humor is kind of like joy in action, right? Like,
Totally.
laughter is kind of love in action. Like, there's this like eruption of just love, like that you just love it so much that there's this whole like alchemy that happens
Yeah,
where it turns into laughter, right? It's
totally.
kind of like that lady with the Chewbacca mask. I'm sure you saw that. Like, oh my
Hilarious.
fucking God.
My
like,
God.
like she loved that mask
Right.
so much. Like, so much.
Exactly. It is. Agreed. If we do think about it, like if you look at the science, and part of the class that I taught, I brought it back to, because it was sort of the class I was teaching was around like this comedy, humor, lightness as a tool, as a skill. So it's like, how do we connect to it as a skill and this and that? So we went through lots of different mindsets, lots of different frames around how to access it, what to think about, yada, yada, yada. And at the very end, I was like, okay, if all else fails, you can actually watch other people laughing, and it's this innate human thing, and it like connects, it automatically connects us for like no particular reason other than that shared experience. And so that, at the very minimum, I love that as an avenue to lightening ourselves, is like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm bummed out, I'm whatever, I can't figure it out, I'm just feeling bleh, low, whatever the experience is. It's like a life hack. You could literally pull up on fucking YouTube people laughing or some whatever,
Babies laughing,
watch some laughter, and it's unlikely that you're going to leave that experience not feeling lighter, not having laughed yourself.
yeah. The power of it is undeniable.
It is.
Undeniable. So anyway, for me,
This ridiculousness.
yes,
Yeah, that's a giant fucking photo on my
there's
wall.
so many reasons why I love you. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many reasons why I love you. But one of the reasons why I love you is you have this really fierce, brave sense of humor about you, which
Thank
is
you.
so attractive. Like it's
Thank you.
one of the many things that when I first met you, I was like, oh, I'm going to marry her. Not like in the traditional sense of the word marry, just that like, oh, we're going to be such great friends. She doesn't even know it yet. We're just going to be such great friends. Like you meet people like that. You're like, oh yeah, it's my
It's
people.
such a gift to me, to other people, to find humor, to create experiences of humor. It's like, it's one of my core values in life. Anybody who knows me for any length of time knows that I believe love and hilarity are the two most important things in life, in that order. And I, I've lived from that for a
This
long,
is tweetable.
long,
If
long,
anyone's watching this,
long
tweetable, you know, Oprah does like the tweetable things, like
time. Yeah.
love and hilarity in that order, like two most important things in
Yeah.
life in that order. Tweet it. Melanie Curtis.
Tweet it. Marie Forleo, tweetable. Melanie Curtis, tweetable.
Melanie Curtis.
You're welcome, world.
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's been a kind of slow, like I wasn't naturally, I realized I had trauma around this. Like I realized I don't
Yeah.
remember what specifically happened, but must have been something like when I was young that I laughed at something and there was a person of authority
Yeah.
who had power over me, that when I laughed, it ended badly for
Yeah.
me.
Like
Like
it
it
was
ended badly.
won, or you got yelled at, or something
I
like
was
that.
disrespectful, like unappreciative.
Yeah.
Because on some level, it probably was. Like I
And
probably
then,
found something funny, and they were in pain. And
right. And then fusing the disrespect with laughter. Yeah. That's so understandable.
yeah,
Probably pretty common experience for people too.
yeah.
The thing, we don't want to be disrespectful. I do think there are times when we should be like,
Go take it
bring
down a
it
notch.
back
Yeah,
and hold it back if it is situationally or emotionally or empathetically more kind to do that. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Gentle, compassionate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because love is compassion. So we want to be loving of the other people that are in our sphere. If
Yeah.
someone is in pain, you know, the love, the compassion, making sure they're okay before we find it funny is kind of the appropriate sequence of events. Like
Yeah.
when I was little, I sure as hell didn't have that skillfulness. So I think
Well, who does?
probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fascinating to watch humor at play in the coaching work that I do, the life coaching work, and even skydiving coaching work. This is where this sort of began. I have obviously friends that I have learned from and stuff like that. Like one of my best friends, his name is Lou. He's a Jersey. He calls himself the Jersey boy. He's like so identified with Jersey, even though he's like, I'll never move that back there. Fuck that place, you know, which I think is hilarious. But he is one of the funniest guys I know. And he's done a lot of studying on humor, but he also really taught me a lot about humor. We've talked a lot about humor, and this is years and years of this. Now, how this relates to like, so that's part of one of the pieces where I sort of got really interested in humor and comedy as a thing, not only just enjoying it deeply myself, but also seeing it really make a difference for
Mm.
people to be able to perform under stress, like
Mm.
delivering and creating a
Huge.
culture of humor inside of a, say, skydiving coaching arena. It makes a big fucking difference for people to be able to go, oh, I'm
That's huge.
enjoying this.
Even though I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
That is so huge. And I want to just put a pin in that. And again, I think another kind of tweetable thing is like, you're so right. And I don't think I ever really appreciated, and I do it naturally, right? Naturally, I would be disarming when something's going wrong. You kind of make like, this is uncomfortable. This isn't going the way we wanted. And for me, I don't skydive. One
Right.
day you're going to take me. But for me, it's like in the business world, right? You're trying to accomplish a really hard project or a really hard, you know, goal or task or whatever, or you're in this really tough meeting where you're trying to get people to collaborate or come together. I mean, there's a million examples.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you're saying that, naturally, I did always kind of infuse just hopefully the right amount of humor to kind of disarm and take the heat down,
Yeah.
so then people can get out of their, you know, lower part of their brain, the amygdala, and
Yep.
kind of hopefully get to their higher part of their brain, the prefrontal cortex, where
Yep.
they could think more strategically, make better decisions, like you say, perform better.
Yeah.
And I don't think until you just said that, I wasn't aware of that as a skill that I was doing. Like so many of the things we just kind of naturally don't do
Yeah.
when you can get better at it. So that's huge, Mel. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for that acknowledgement. It's very cool to witness also in the realm of life coaching. So if I work with, and I'm sure that you've seen this too in your work with other people on the sort of growth, spiritual evolution, healing levels. So if I'm working with somebody and they're in something challenging, painful, they're realizing something about themselves they don't like, they're acknowledging, they're having that experience of growth and facing themselves and feeling pain and acknowledging pain and just all of that stuff that's really hard, really necessary in terms of transformation and healing and growth. So inserting humor in those moments, not to disarm the moment when it's of value to the person, but consciously and aware and with awareness and thoughtfulness, inserting humor when the person has gotten enough from the pain or the moment.
Yep, the timing of it. Yep.
Also, and this is for real, like also making that part of the process of growth and healing more tolerable, right? Like if growth and healing and life coaching and talking to me on the phone or whatever, talking to you on the phone is too painful, it's not going to be sustainable for a person. It serves my people for me to insert and help them. It's not that I'm even inserting it because they're experiencing it and connecting to the humor too. So it's not just that I'm like, oh, I'm pulling some weird strings. It's more like, this is a moment I can, put in some humor, and if it lands, cool. Sometimes it doesn't, but other times it really does, and it really helps. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's two things that are going on there from my kind of perspective. One is that the humor infuses them with that kind of positive energy that helps them kind of ride the wave and like get back up. But also studies show, obviously, I'm sure you know this, that the way that we learn so much better when we're in a positive emotional state. And so
Cool.
if we're trying to really rewire our brain and really make a change, really take some key learning away,
Yeah.
we're able to have a positive emotional state. And the more the higher level of it, right? The more excited we get, the more we're laughing, the more we're going to remember it.
Yeah.
And the inverse works as well, just because I know you know this, but just for people listening,
Yeah.
that if we get really scared, we remember that as well too. So like whatever we experience during a really heightened state, our brain will wire it like with a super highway, and we won't forget. So if we're really scared, like if all of a sudden like, we get attacked by like an orange cat when we were little and we were like freaking terrified,
Right.
we will have a super highway between orange cat danger, cat danger, like for the rest of the life, even though we're like, it's just a little orange cat, but your brain's like, because you were four and the orange cat attached to you. But the same thing happens like when we want to change our brain. If we have something that we associate with something negative, or there's a pattern or a habit we're trying to break, if we catch ourselves doing, like you said earlier, the thing that you're trying to do more of, and you really celebrate, like, oh my God, I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome. As silly and ridiculous as it sounds, that heightened celebration helps you rewire your brain more effectively and make the change.
Yeah. It's a thing too, like if we're touching something that's historically been something we feel identify with as we are not good enough, this thing about me makes me bad, right? We have those painful thoughts. The lightness, the bringing and the inserting lightness into that type of conversation introduces the idea of no big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that like from a dismissive standpoint. I mean that from a legit, like, theoretically, no big deal. It's totally normal. Cool. Yeah. Everybody goes through this and has this sort of, it's like a version and a part
validation
of validating. Yeah. It's really awesome. I mean, it's just also more fun.
You're so good,
You're
Melanie
having more
Curtis.
fun.
So much more fun when we're laughing. It
And again,
works
it's not to
and it's
say
more
we're taking
fun.
away from the hard stuff. It's just that the hard stuff and the humor can coexist and run parallel.
Yeah.
And in fact, it magnifies our results when we are able to do that. And so that's why I'm like, I'm all in with it. I mean, you've known me long enough to know that I lead through this example.
We're committed to a
I
life of
live.
laughter.
My life is more fun because I believe what I believe. You don't like, people don't have to believe what I believe. I just get a certain result that I enjoy and like. I get a certain result with my work with other people that they like and I like. And so I continue with it. If ever I'm proven otherwise that it's not a result and I'm left to question that, then I will. It's just, anyway.
There you go.
Boom.
Putting a flag in that one.
Bam.
I love you. I've just been thinking about you tons. I mean, it definitely, the more I've allowed my humor to flow, it definitely feels like there's just this authenticity that is flowing with it. So kind of identifying that block and kind of for it has been meaningful. Did I freeze? You froze for a second.
Yeah. What'd you say? The more that you identify it.
Yeah, the more I just kind of allow the humor to flow naturally and trust it, right? Because it's also another form of trusting myself. And it was an area where I subconsciously wasn't trusting myself, because consciously, it was all fine.
Yeah.
It's just there were subconscious blocks, subconscious fears around whether I could trust my humor.
Yeah. And it's funny.
My sense of humor.
I would be curious because, like, I experience you as totally hilarious. Obviously not in all moments. Like, I'm not totally hilarious in all moments, but there are definitely times when I'm like, that's fucking hysterical. Whether it's us texting and sending stupid fucking all caps or whatever back and forth, or whether we have a moment on a call like this. And I wonder if there are distinctions between environments where you feel more free to play with your humor. I would hope that I cultivate an environment where you feel more free to do that. And I'm curious if other areas stand out as where you maybe feel more blocked, and what we might be able to discover there.
Yeah, that's such the right question, as usual, Melanie Curtis, because the deal is like being playful, right? Like being playfulness is one of my core, like commitments. Like that's when Rondra and I are talking about like my vision for our relationship, like playfulness is like the number one thing. And I can be like, we're going to have more playfulness, and that's going to be so great for all these reasons, obviously, like, so the more we can be playful with each other, there's all these rewards, right? And there's certain areas of my life where playfulness was not encouraged, right? That like, this is serious. And I remember when I got to Yale my freshman year, I was like, holy shit, everybody takes themselves so fucking seriously. And I immediately needed to go get a tattoo, because I was like, no, I need to immediately get a tattoo and make it really clear that I am not doing that. I'm not going down that path. Like, I'm not suddenly going to start taking myself seriously.
Yeah.
And again, when you were talking before about the parts of ourselves that we don't like, or the parts, because I mean, there's pretty much ages 14 to like 21, I was like, oh, Pam. And making peace with who I was then and the parts of me that I don't intrinsically, I don't want to hang out with. Like, I wouldn't necessarily, parts of old Pam that I wouldn't want to go get a beer with. Right. And there were parts of old Pam from then that were so freaking fun that like, I would hang out with that old Pam any day of the week. But there were certain parts of that younger version of Pam that were like, oh, honey. Right. So making peace with all that it was all perfect, because it gave me the opportunity to learn the lessons that I need to learn to become the person that I am now. Right.
Absolutely.
And generally speaking, I am an incredibly naturally playful person, playful, wild, like don't like to play by the rules.
Yeah.
And most of life was like, don't be like that. One, you're a woman, woman, and it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe to be too sexy or too sexual. It wasn't safe to be too loud or too free or to draw too much attention to yourself. I mean, I don't know about you, but how many times like you know, the story when I got shot in the ass, like there's so many things that kind of go hand in hand
Yep.
with really being who I authentically am.
Yep.
And it just wasn't safe. So like it goes hand in hand with the humor, because as you just said, the areas in my life where I felt safe enough to really be me and be the playful Pam, like the 5-year-old that I really am,
Yeah.
right? Like most of my life, that was not where I got good results. Like
Mhm.
when I was at work, I learned how to mix it, like you were saying, where I'd be
Yeah.
focused on the project, get things done, mix in a little bit of humor. But I was never in a leadership position where I really shared the same values as my bosses. And so like
Okay.
I always had to like be careful because it wasn't really totally safe. You know, in
Yep.
relationships, it's safe when you share values, you
Yes.
share core values. So like all this goes hand in hand. And then in relationships, like with boss relationships, partnership relationships, you
Mm-hmm.
know, we don't talk that much about my marriage, but I
Yep.
love my husband. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge area of commitment to growth because we've been married for 15 years. So like we've
Yeah.
grown and matured a lot. And, you know, a lot of the things, you know, the
Yeah.
person I was then isn't the person I am now, and vice
Yeah.
versa for him. And so we have all this opportunity, which is um, and you know, hopefully figuring out how to have the marriage be a space where that playfulness,
Yeah.
you know, because I can be annoying, I can be like
I know.
literally like having a 5-year-old around, like
Sure.
much like Pam,
Exactly.
I'm trying to get this really important email sent, and you keep whatever thing I'm doing that probably is not appropriate to say on video. Worse things, right? There's worse
Right.
things. And, you know, so again, it's like there are areas of my life, especially friendships, like you and I have so many shared values,
Right.
and we really get each other and really love each other. And we have this beautiful container in
Yeah.
our relationship where like you could come to me and tell me anything, and I would be like, awesome. Like awesome, and vice versa. And so yes, you bring out my humor, you bring out my playfulness, because
Mm-hmm.
there's this container of safety where I can be that way.
Yeah.
And you love me no matter what. You love me when I'm bawling hysterically and snot dripping out of my nose, and I'm you trying to execute a really hard business plan idea. Like you love me no matter what,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Exactly. Exactly. Ditto.
So I
Exactly.
want more relationships like our relationship,
Yeah.
right? And
I.
you model
Mhm.
that, you model that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you. Agreed. That's so what I get out of a lot of I mean, my core friendships absolutely embody that safety,
Mm.
that safety and that trust in that no matter what, I'm loved, I'm safe.
Even on my worst day, even my worst day, I'm awesome.
Yep. And so that's the thing. Like, we just happen to believe in and love and want to embrace and embody more humor and lightness and playfulness. And there might be other people that aren't so much that way, and that's cool too. So it's not even like you need to care about this. You know, it's, and I say you, I'm talking to people listening. You know, it's like we do, and so it's cool to see that in the space of that safety and love and trust that we have earned and built between each other, between us. Because like that's the thing too, is that we've earned this space. Like, yeah, when we first talked on the phone, when I was still living upstate New York, and I remember talking to you on the phone, and I walked down the stairs and I sat on my little love seat in my living room. I totally remember that conversation and that
Me too.
connection. You know what I mean? So that was the starting point of this. And we earned and cultivated through communication, through all of the things that we have done to create that space and our commitment to that space. That's what allows this stuff to be possible. So like, if humor is something people want to have more of, I would invite them to look at where they can start to practice and play with it inside their most trusted relationships.
Yeah, and just share that this is something that you're learning about and that you value, and you see all the rewards, that it's like worth it to like figure this out, and to kind of own the areas when maybe you don't feel safe enough to use humor, and look at why that would be. Like, well, why am I not, you know, able to do that right here? And like no judgment, just look there, and you might find some things that are uncomfortable, and go a little deeper, because
Yeah.
that's where all the rewards are.
Yeah. And this is why I make this picture a giant size in my room, because it is ridiculous. and it embodies many of my core values.
Love you.
Oh my God. I always said I missed my calling, one of my callings. So professional skydiver, life coach. And then I was like, oh, I clearly should have been on SNL. That was one of my missed callings, as it were.
Yeah. Well, it's not over, babe.
I know, I'm kidding.
It's not over.
I know. I just listened to Tina Fey's book, Bossy Pants, finally, and it's so good. I can't recommend it more. She's amazing.
She's awesome.
She's amazing too. But anyway, I digress. What would you like to share with the peeps as a parting thought, or where?
No, I mean, Hacked is going. We shall see. A couple spaces potentially. Peace Power Parenting is launching again. So I'm just pushing forward, just doing as much good in the world as I can. It's all good.
Yeah, guys. And if you want to do a coaching sesh with me, just go to my website, melaniecurtis.com, or drop me an email, mel@melaniecurtis.com. And if you want to work with Pam, reach out to her. And yeah, we got you.
I love you.
I love you too.